Welcome to Quick Course Digest. Today, we're jumping into a topic that's pretty much the invisible engine behind every modern company out there: management information systems, or as you'll often hear it, MIS. So, what exactly is an MIS? Well, at its heart, you can think of it as the bridge that connects business operations with technology. It's all about using tech to grab all the data a company creates, chew it up, turn it into something useful, and then get it to the right people so they can make way smarter, faster decisions. Imagine a manager seeing a sales dip in real time and adjusting strategy on the fly, instead of having to wait for some dusty old monthly report. To really get a grip on all this, we're going to build our understanding like a pyramid, from the ground up. We'll kick things off with the absolute foundation, the data itself. Then we'll move up and see how all that data gets organized into a powerful framework. From there, we'll check out the actual systems that run the business, how they give companies a competitive edge, and finally, we'll hit the top of the pyramid, the most crucial piece of all, the human element.
Okay, so first things first. Before we can even talk about these big, powerful systems, we've got to understand the currency they trade in. We need to look at the journey, from just raw facts all the way to real, actionable insight. You see, it all starts with data, and data is just raw, unorganized facts. So a single sales order for one laptop, that's a piece of quantitative or numeric data. The color of that laptop being ruby red, well, that's qualitative. On its own, a single data point like that doesn't really tell you a whole lot about your business. It's just a blip. But what happens when you take a whole month's worth of those individual sales orders and you put them all together? Suddenly, you see that you sold 500 laptops. Now you've processed that raw data, you've given it some context, and you've turned it into useful information. You've gone from a single fact to a really meaningful summary. Information is great, but it's only powerful when we actually do something with it. And that's where we get to knowledge. Knowledge is the so what part of the equation. You sold 500 laptops this month, and you see that last month you only sold 300. You realize, hey, that new ad campaign must be working. Deciding to double down on that campaign because of that insight, that is turning information into actionable knowledge. So we've got all this data and we're turning it into information and knowledge. Fantastic. But as a company gets bigger, where in the world do you keep it all so it doesn't just become a total disaster? Let's move up to our next layer and see how the framework gets built. And that is the million-dollar question, isn't it? The amount of data a single company can generate every single day from sales, marketing, and everything else is just staggering. And just having it isn't enough. If it's not organized, it's just noise. You have to be able to manage it. Now this shows a crossroads that almost every single business hits. You start out with spreadsheets, right? And for a little while, they work just fine. But pretty soon, you've got multiple versions of the same file floating around, conflicting information, and really costly errors. That's the moment you have to graduate to a database, a system that's built from the ground up to be the one single reliable source of truth for the entire company. At the end of the day, a database is the professional solution. You can think of it like a highly organized, super efficient digital filing cabinet. It's truly the backbone that holds everything together, powering everything from your company's website to your internal finance system. But of course, just having a great database is only half the battle. That data needs to be accessible to the right people and protected from the wrong ones. And these analogies break it down perfectly. Every device on a network gets a unique IP address, which is just like a mailing address for a house. Routers act like air traffic controllers, making sure all your data packets get to the right destination. And the firewall? That's your digital security guard, standing at the gate, checking IDs, and making sure only authorized traffic gets in or out. Okay, so we've got our data, and it's all organized in a secure database. Now what? Well, now we get to look at the powerful applications that actually use this data to make the business run, day in and day out. These are the real workhorses of MIS. We have all been there, right? You call a company you've been a loyal customer of for years, and you feel like you have to explain your entire life story from scratch. It is so frustrating, and it makes you feel like you're just another number. This is a classic example of a business process that's broken because the data is disconnected. So how do you fix that? How can a company use its own information to create this seamless personal experience that actually keeps customers happy and coming back for more? Well, the answer is a customer relationship management system, or CRM. A CRM puts every single interaction, every purchase, every service call, every email into one central profile. So when you call for help, the support rep instantly sees your entire history and can treat you like the valued customer you actually are. And that's not just good service. That's how you build real loyalty and boost sales. And CRM is really just one piece of the puzzle. Lots of companies use something called an enterprise resource planning, or ERP system. The best way to think of this is like the central nervous system for the whole company, connecting all the departments. And then you have supply chain management, or SCM systems, which track a product from the moment it's raw materials to the final delivery. The big takeaway here is that all these complex systems are powered by one central database, keeping the entire company on the same page. So far, we've seen how MIS helps a business run efficiently. But the real magic, the really cool stuff, happens when companies use all this data not just to operate, but to win. This is where we go from simple data collection to true data intelligence. And to do that, they often use a process called ETL. First, they extract data from all their different systems, sales, marketing, you name it. Then they transform it, which means cleaning it up and putting it all into one standard format. And finally, they load it into a massive central database called a data warehouse. And the whole point of all this work? To create one version of the truth so that everyone in the organization is making decisions based on the exact same complete picture. Once you have that massive, clean data set, you can do what's called data mining. This is where computers sift through everything to find surprising patterns that a human would probably never spot on their own. Like a grocery store might discover that people buy more milk the day after it rains. Who knew? That's a totally non-obvious insight that could completely change their stocking strategy. And the amount of fuel for this data mining is just exploding, thanks in large part to the Internet of Things, or IoT. By 2020, there were an estimated 24,000 billion of these devices out there. Think about a smart air conditioner that has a little sensor tracking its own performance. It can analyze that data and predict when it's going to need maintenance before it actually breaks down. I mean, that's a huge competitive advantage. And all of this brings us to the final and honestly the most important layer of our pyramid. We can have the best, most expensive technology in the world, but without the right people and the right processes, it is all for nothing. The human element is the key that unlocks the potential of every other layer we've talked about. I mean, take security, for instance. A firewall is great, but it can't stop an employee from using password 123 as their login. The strongest defense a company has is a well-trained, vigilant workforce that really understands its role in protecting the company's and its customers' data. It's a team sport. And this quote from productivity expert David Allen, it just hits the nail on the head. Technology is advancing at an absolutely incredible pace. So the real challenge for companies isn't just buying the new shiny tech. It's about changing how we work so we can actually use its power. So that leaves us with one final thought to chew on. As all these systems get smarter and smarter, automating routine tasks and even predicting the future, what becomes our most important human role in all of this? That's the big question we're all going to be answering in the years to come.